legit. Anything you want.
Gold fever and the rush into gold and silver will likely come much sooner than most people think. SD Midweek Update: the mad scramble into gold and silver will likely come sooner than later, just as this of all weeks is perfect for spotting black swans. I am not sure if this is kind of funny or downright scary. The baby boomers are still in charge. They still call all the shots. If the boomers are not responsible for the coming economic collapse of the United States, then at the very minimum, it will be the boomers who are on watch when it collapses. The millennials are up-and-comers. Thanks to social media, the millennials are rising in popularity, albeit at the expense of brain cells. In my estimation, there is a direct inverse correlation between popularity and intelligence, and of the most popular, especially right now, are people of the likes of, say, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, known as OC, just like the other OC, well known for its cheap, generic Chinese computer monitors of unreliable, poor user experiences, but different, and AOC certainly falls in line with my estimate. But whatever happened to Generation 10? That is the question. You see, if the boomers will be on watch during the economic collapse, and therefore, by extension, will be responsible for the collapse, then some group will have to rebuild. Will it be the millennials? Not a chance. At their very core, millennials think unicorns exist and that money grows on trees, and they think those two things quite literally. For those millennials who were told otherwise, as in those millennials know certain things do not exist, such as Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, those people understand that money does not grow on trees, but unfortunately, they think that money can be summoned from mom or dad with a snap of two fingers or with a click of a mouse. Furthermore, the millennials were not at the peak of general education in the United States like Generation 10 was. The millennials were not taught to challenge the accepted truths, theories and narratives of the day in a manner which the millennials would not only win the challenge, but also come up with new truths, theories and narratives. Nope. The millennials were only taught rote memory of police state, deep state propaganda, and to be completely and totally submissive to authority. Enter Generation X, completely crude, semi-rusty, unnecessarily brute, and with a complexity to their intellect that the boomers are unwilling to learn and the millennials are incapable of learning. That's not the part that is either kind of funny or downright scary, however. It's either funny or scary that Generation 10 is completely ignored, as if an entire generation of people just don't exist. We hear talk from time to time about he lost generation, and by the looks of it you would think that generation is Generation 10, but it is not. I mean, it's not like Generation 10 is incapable. Intellectually, with their unique problem-solving skills, Generation 10 is actually the most capable of rebuilding and therefore cannot be the host generation. So in a Forrest Gump kind of way, that would be funny. Or it's downright scary. Because both the boomers and the millennials are afraid of Generation 10, which is why we never even hear a peep from the sheeple, a peep that includes the word and letter in the order of veneration then. As the economic collapse has taken its toll, the boomers will not be leading in the reconstruction. Luckily, the collapse will be so full of economic pain and financial misery that it will offset any awkwardness of the coming generational conflicts, but I'm not really sure what kind of luck that is. When Generation X is tasked with rebuilding, they are gonna be pretty put off. Scary. Of course, I could be totally wrong, and it could be something more along the lines of, the first rule of Generation 10 is you never talk about Generation 10, but I doubt I'm wrong. Additionally, Winston found hope in the proles. And Winston was wrong. Okay, $, what are you, some kind of demographer now? We came here to read about gold, silver and finance news, and you're spewing some hogwash about generational warfare. Just get on with your point already. Ouch. Alrighty then. Here's my point. Are people not totally rushing into gold and silver right now? You know, the sort of rush that's represented in this famous artwork by David Dees. I think it will happen much sooner than most people think it will happen. Why, and what does the rush into gold and silver have to do with a rant about generations? Everything. Let's dial in to get a specific example going. Take Maxine Waters and AOC. Both of the reps are on some pretty important U.S. House of Representative committees relating to matters of finance. One of them is a boomer, and the other is a millennial. The bought and paid for globalist puppet Waters will be talking all sorts of crazy financial nonsense on the committee, but if I'm right, her nonsense will be overpowered by the nonsense of the popular up-and-comer. That is to say, AOC is about to mumble her way through some very terrifying scenarios about the government, finances, and the mixing of the two, and not only because she's pretty, albeit with crazy eyes and big teeth, but she will be resonating with the masses' thirst for social justice. And the masses think she can quench that thirst. In other words, AOC is the cheese to Trump's macaroni, but what she will be openly talking about is stripping every last crumb of debt-based fiat savings from anyone even perceived to be middle class in the United States. Only the rich will get out of having all of their wealth stripped. Because money is a tool and the rich will use it. But the middle class, who don't have a fancy toolbox, just go ahead and save the hassle by stripping down and bending over, because, well, you know, everybody knows how Asians smuggle gold through international airports, right? Seriously. Back to reality. Wait, that was reality. Very well then. Enter gold and silver. You know the rest. And that is exactly why I think gold fever and the rush into gold and silver will likely come much sooner than most people think. Moving on. I am starting to think the economy has already collapsed, but how would we know, right? The government is barely releasing any of its statistics and surveys that would give us a clue. Some people think Ruth Ginsburg is already dead. But what if our problems are much bigger than that? Like the entire economy is dead? The gold-to-silver ratio looks like it may have stopped climbing. If it has stopped climbing, then this is about as good as it gets for the gold-to-silver ratio arbitrage play. Let's see if silver can find some support in its 200-day moving average. I still think the downside is limited here, especially the downside sub -$15. That golden cross sure looks pretty. Perhaps that's why gold's pullback has not been as large, percentage-wise, as silver's? Speaking of pullbacks, here we see it in the early star of 2019. I do not, however, think that palladium will finish the year being the star of 2019. I think that honor will go to gold and silver. Platinum just might as well go ahead and triple bottom. For people who have a little more discretionary fiat and who would also like the leverage of an arbitrage play down the line, platinum sure looks interesting here. Copper is still carving out a bottom. I think copper will begin climbing that wall of worry soon. We're starting to get some chatter about the inverse head and shoulders in crude oil. I saw that thing coming from a mile away, and I do think we'll be back in the upper -70 Singapore dollars before too long. Here's the heartbeat of America index looking like its dead cat bounce is running of a bounce. It has been one heck of a bounce, however, and it just goes to show how having the power to simply double-click fiat dollars into existence can have a profound effect on markets. The VIX looks like it wants to perk up here. As impressive as the run the stock market had, the VIX has had an equally impressive decline. Granted, if things play out like I think they will, we should have some short-term pressure on yields. Yields will be a hot topic next week as the Fed conducts its two-day January FOMC, complete with Powell presser. Although Fed head Powell is certain to get all of his balls teed up for him by the mainstream media, the sucker's rally in the dollar is just shy of where I thought it would run out of steam. The dollar does, in my opinion, look like it is running out of steam here. What is the bottom line on this cold, crisp hump day? With Fed radio silence, government radio silence, and the MSM propagandists willfully if not gleefully executing every marching order, this is the perfect week for some sort of black swan. Oh yeah. Remember those? Seems to me like right about now, everybody's forgot. And this is the perfect week to see one. Sooner or later we will.